Let's move to our next Power Pact speaker. He's a highly respected professor at the S.P. Jain Institute of Management and Research and a board member and consultant to several family-managed companies. His area of expertise is family-managed businesses, and he brings with him a colossal experience of 30 years of setting up and managing sales and distribution networks for medium and small companies in the business-to-business domain. Professor Sahib will give us his views on how to manage growth. Please give the professor a very warm and befitting welcome. Professor V.K. Murthy. We've heard him before and we want to hear him again. Professor V.K. Murthy from S.P. Jain Institute.
So good afternoon. Now think of my predicament following a speaker like Harsh Mariwala, right? We're going to talk about growing a family business and what are the challenges that one faces in this, and then are there some way forward? You've seen an example of Mr. Harsh Mariwala. He's an outlier. When you look at family businesses, how many family members do you find like Harsh Mariwala? Very few. Very few. So what I'm going to talk about the other side of family businesses, which are mainly small and medium size, and what sort of challenges they face. And as I go through this presentation, I want you to reflect. You want to think about your own self, think about your nearest friends, about their businesses, whether these ideas, what I speak about, are relevant. And when I speak to you with about close to 40 years of dealing with family businesses. And I'm a part of the S.P. Jain Institute of Management, where we have the Family Managed Business Program, where we have a program for young next generation people, members of the business families, called a Family Managed Business Program. So we have an intimate idea of what's going on. And many of these ideas you will find are exactly opposite of what Mr. Harsh Mariwala presented. I'm going to talk to you about 4 propositions. I'm going to make 4 points, that's it. Nothing more than that, just 4 points, right? So let's start with the first point. Most family businesses don't grow. And that's where Harsh Mariwala is an exception. Most of them don't grow. 90% and above don't grow. It's only about 10%. And again, for how long? That becomes the question. And one has to look at, why does this happen? Why does this happen? And invariably, when you try to look at it, you will find people talk about external challenges. They will say, oh my God, doing business is very tough. And why is it tough? Markets are not what they were before. Getting a good customer these days is not easy. It's not easy. And even if you get customers, you don't get the right prices. If you get the right prices, you don't get the right payment terms. Every side, you'll find things are much tougher today than what it was even maybe 10 years ago. You go still further, like Mr. Harsh Mariwala said, he had 100 competitors, people who are doing duplicates. And we have genuine competitors at every stage, because of which we don't have a pricing liberty at all. Instead of setting prices, we are price takers. It becomes tough. So even the volumes are there, you don't find the margins are what it was a couple of years ago. And as the first speaker, Mr. Samir, pointed out, technology is changing every day virtually. It's becoming more capital intensive and the rules are very different. So you have a situation where you have a fixed capital costs which are going up, margins are coming down because of margin competitors, and the volumes are not growing at the rate at which you want to grow. These are normally the most commonly given reasons why sales are not, why growth is not happening. Why times are tough. Even maintaining a current position becoming tough, easy. It's not easy. It's tough. What do? There is some sort of helplessness that one sees in the situation. So let's understand. Industry has changed. It is not what it was before, the structure. And one aspect of it is going from a high return on invested capital, it's coming down to a lower returns. Doubling of money in the same year, next year, 2 years' time, those are matters of history now. It's becoming much tougher. Let me come to my proposition number 2. In the same industry, few family businesses grow, like Harsh Mariwala, while most don't. So how come? When you have the market, competitors and technology as common factors, you have a small percentage of them rapidly growing. What explains this difference in behavior? To understand this point, you want to look at your own industry. Top 25 firms in 1991, when India started this opening up the economy. And you want to look at, if you look at the situation in today, 2016, 1991 and 2016, do you find the same companies among the top 25 or different? In every industry you will find, virtually industry after industry you will find the leaders have changed. People at the top are no more the same. It is like a water flowing on the riverside. You don't find the same companies. Very few from 1991, even if you take 2001 and you take 2016, again you'll find the same. So the question is, the right of any firm to exist is not perpetual. It has to be continuously earned. And that's what Mr. Harsh Mariwala mentioned again and again. He says, as an entrepreneur, all the time you're looking for something to grow, something new. What is the something new we do? Is it what we're doing, protecting the past, or trying to do something which is different? Rules have dramatically changed. Many of the companies you'll find are very proud of the fact, oh, we are 30 years old, I'm the third generation. It is about survival. Does survival guarantee performance? It's not necessary. And even look at the older firms, invariably you'll find their performance parameters are much lower compared to somebody who is somebody who is younger organization. There's some baggage. So what explains this? So we try to compare an organization which is successful, which has been growing, and one which has not been growing. How do we get to the granular level to understand what explains that difference? What explains that difference? We use this concept called a business model to get to that details. The first one is, we look at where does the revenue come from? Where does all the revenue? Where does it come from? What sort of customers? What sort of products? And that's why Mr. Harsh Mariwala said, we have chosen our portfolio the correct way. We are not trying to compete in shampoos. Choice of where do you want to compete, what products you want to put. That becomes the first. A product that helps the customers do better, do more, at a lower cost. How can you help them? So the question, first one is, in many cases you will find many of us are stuck with customers or segments which are not so very attractive. And we have not made that effort to get onto the next. It's more about doing more of the same and expecting much better results. And that's problem number one. Problem number two, in that market which you have selected, what's your profit formula? How are you going to make money? Was the formula that was valid 15 years ago valid even today? Does it make sense? Or the formula has changed. In every industry, you'll find profit formula has changed. And when you say profit formula, we're talking about what assets, what cost structure, what margins and velocity that you require. This is something again which continuous renewal is required. People talk about shifting to an area where you have a sales tax advantage, excise duty advantage, or more automated way of production, different methods. To achieve these two, we then look at what are the resources that an organization has. How has it changed over a period of time? That's why Mr. Harsh Mariwala said, right markets and the right people. That's the resource he talks about. He talks about the value proposition, the revenue model. Am I in the right markets? Resource, he talks about having the right people, the best people. People, technology, products. What are we doing? And then we talk about how we do things in our way, the process is involved. And that's where you'll find people talk about at a very basic level ISO, but they go higher level, they talk about Six Sigma, SAP systems. What sort of processes do we have? Ways of working together. How do you manage it? And you will find once you start looking at a company in detail, through each of these lenses, 4 lenses, you will find there's a lot of catching up to do. Things don't remain what they are. Things are dynamic, but the way we manage as though business is static, that creates a problem. So the question you want to ask yourself is my business model valid, or is it broken in one of those 4 compartments, or maybe more than one of the 4 compartments? And when you look at companies that are growing fast, each of those 4 lenses you will find have been fine-tuned to keep in tune with the market. When the external market is changing, the rate at which the business model changes is almost the same or is a little ahead. If it is later, that becomes a problem. Let me come to proposition number 3. So we have seen most companies don't grow, a few grow. And I've given you 2 lenses to look at it. This is the key part. The value of business depends on who's managing it. The same Saffola and Marico managed by the family and then managed by Harsh Mariwala, there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference. Huge difference. So the question is, who's managing it? What are the capabilities? Who's running it? And to understand this, you want to look at it. Is the top management, owners on the next level, are they the barriers or are they people who let the company grow? And in many cases you'll find, chances are very much they're a barrier. And a few instances, like Harsh Mariwala's case, they become the enablers. So when you say barriers, let me give you some ways to think about it. Look at the way the top management is spending its time on a daily basis. What are they involved about? What are they concerned about? Putting out fires of yesterday. Oh, ye problem nahi hua, that problem is not solved, this problem is pending, that delivery has not gone. We are all the time concerned about solving problems of yesterday, putting out fires of yesterday. There's no time to think about tomorrow. There's no time to think about tomorrow. We are so busy. 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock, we are busy, but then doing what? Solving problems. Solving problems doesn't make money. Exploiting opportunities makes money. But there's no time for it. There's no time for it. One point is we don't have the time. And then what happens to the next level of people that we have in our companies? Here, when you talk of management bandwidth, it's about leadership, and then you talk about the next level. We call it the A team. Who's the A team? Who are those people? What sort of capability do we have? Mr. Mariwala talked about delegation. How much of delegation can we do? It's not about doing. Can we do? Do they have the potential to do what we want a better way? Can we leverage our time? And very often you'll find in most family managed companies, after the owners, there's a big gap. There are many people whom we have recruited maybe 10 years, 15, 20 years ago who are good relatives, who have grown along with the company, but then to take it to the next level, they may not have the bandwidth. They may not have the bandwidth. And then that creates a problem. And this is a very common problem in companies, very common. First, our time is short and we don't have a backup, we don't have a next line that creates opportunities for work. The third one is talking about resources. Mr. Mariwala said in 1996 he went public. Very often in businesses, if the business is growing, we will outgrow our own resource capability, our own money. That becomes a liability. People say, nahi, humko udhar nahi lena hai. I am a zero debt company. We have the money to grow, wonderful. But most family business companies will reach a limit beyond which they will not be able to grow with their own money. And then the question is, no, I don't want to grow. It's better I am a king of 100 rupees rather than being a 25% share of 10,000 rupees. Growth versus control. I must be in control. This is my company. I want to be in charge. I don't want to leverage it. So the principle of leverage applies in both the cases. In the case of management bandwidth and control, you will find we don't gear it up. And I'll give you a simple example of this. When you drive a car, when you put it in the first gear, it travels slowly and it consumes a lot of petrol. When you put it in the second gear, a little faster, but the cost is slightly lower, but still high. When you put it in the top gear, it moves fast and it costs you the least. The same principles apply when it comes to people and money. Same principles. Am I running a top gear? Have I delegated? Have I leveraged my balance sheet? In either case, you will find serious issues when it comes to the leverage principle. Traditional bank loans make sense, but then sharing ownership becomes a barrier. And that's what we call the growth with control. How much to grow? Nahi. And in Hindi, we have a very famous saying, "Utna hi pair phaila lo, jitna bada chadar hai." Nahi badna humko. Leave it. That you can make it bigger, that forget it. Chadar utna hai phaila lo. Arey, you can make it bigger. What's the problem? You get it? Mr. Mariwala talked about having separate people only look about opportunity, only look after disruptions. In our companies, we have no time. We don't have the people. Where's the question of looking about tomorrow? Where's the time? Where's the capability? So what happens is, we are all the time talking about, अरे 3 साल पहले, 5 साल पहले क्या हुआ था? अरे what's going to happen next 2 years? We have no time. We simply don't have time. And we call this, our whole effort because of this comes to protecting our past rather than creating a future. There's no time to even think, forget about creating. And once you get in the vicious trap, then the person is permanently running into it. Continuously. Difficult to come out. And invariably you'll find anybody challenging anything, they'll say, no, nahi hota. Nahi hota. It's not possible. Because it's not easy to come out of this deadly trap. Time is a problem, people are the problem, money is a problem, vision is a problem. All of them become problems. All of them. You want to think of this. When you look at our business, I want to think of two words. One is a flower and one is a garden. When you have a flower is a bud, then it blooms and then it finished, it's gone. Very short life cycle. When you think of a business like a flower, you'll say, oh, ye mera business hai, main kya karu? It has come to a level, now what do I do? Possibly a myopic way of looking at things. But the moment you look at a business as a garden, so you will have something for spring, you will have something for rainy season, you will have something for winter, you will have something for throughout the year. It's like a farmer. The land is his. But then with that land, throughout the year, he is doing something based on which he can have something. Very often you will find we are so focused on the business that we have. We don't look at the business as a garden. For example, Mr. Mariwala said he went from coconut oil, he went on to oats, he has gone to skincare. He has taken the business, company Marico, but then he is in the process, a couple of businesses didn't work. Doesn't matter. The idea is, he took it as a garden, not as a flower. Oh, coconut oil. Mera kaam coconut oil hai. Mera kaam printing ka hai. He didn't take it that way. He says, what are the other possibilities? What can we do? Could be very related, maybe a little different. So when you think of your own business, you want to think of these two. Over time, what has happened to revenue? In the first few years, you will find difficulties in setting up the business, and then the business grows. The business really grows. And at some point, you will find it is difficult to grow it beyond a particular point because external forces are changing, whereas internally the business model doesn't change. You run a business of tomorrow with ideas of day before yesterday, and that becomes a constraint. Business says, no, enough competition comes up, and then you'll find, nahi yaar, maza nahi aa raha hai, takleef ho raha hai. But what do companies who are successful, who think of the business as a garden and not as a flower, will do? They will say, oh, business going down, something is wrong. What should we do? Which tree should we prune down? Which new plant should we plant? What should we do? That's where the innovation part comes in. That's where the change part comes in. Many of us are very good in running the business. We know exactly which machine, how it runs, what it can do, what it cannot do. But in terms of change, you will find there is a problem. Given time, are we changing, or more and more we are trying to protect? And you'll find successful businesses, this series continues. With every new change in the market, one step ahead. And you'll find that change starts when the business at its peak. It's not when, oh, business kharab ho gaya, ab kya karu? It starts much earlier. There are early warning indicators of what things are going to happen. Based on that, what do we do? So you want to, this is a very simple but a very nice way of looking at how is my business progressing? At what were the strategic inflection points and what did it do? Are we changing accordingly? The difficulty lies in not the new ideas, but मैंने घास थोड़ी खोदा है. We are very bullish about our past, but when it comes to about tomorrow, we are all equal. We are all equal. And giving up an old idea becomes very tough. And who said this? A very famous economist, almost 70 years ago. 70 years ago. And when you want to understand this, you want to look at two things. Most of us are masters of operations. How to run this company, how to take production out, how to see that things happen. We are damn good. And we operate under an assumption of continuity. Oh, things are going to remain the same. We have to do slightly better. Continuous improvement. That's what is required. The assumption of continuity happens. Same thing. 2030, same things will happen. Same machine, same people, same things will happen. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Things are same only for a very short period. So the question is, you want to ask yourself, I'm a master of operations. Am I a master of change in my business? Because discontinuity is the assumption. And that's the reality. That's the reality. Is the way the world is changing, am I changing at the same rate or much slower? Am I waiting, नहीं किसी को करने दो देखेंगे, or am I the person bringing about the change? And when you look at family business, you'll find they are masters in terms of the operation. They understand their business so well, nobody else can. They know it. But when it comes to change, you will find there's a big problem. And the way the world is changing, it is changing at a much faster rate. But at this point, how good are we at change is something which you want to look at. We always blame the outside. नहीं think बेकार है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. Things were much better before, right? Things are changing. Let's be proactive. There's no point blaming. So when you talk about that same cycle, first is operations, and then you bring about the change. At that point, very often you will find either you have a new member of the family who comes in, questions, he says, no, or some outside pressure. Fortunately, in some cases, some customers force you to change, and that's how you change. So what brings about that change? Who's going to bring about it? And this is one area where you'll find lot of conflicts happen. Like, for example, Mr. Mariwala explained, setting up a separate company to run this coconut oil business, it took them 3 years. It took them 3 years. Which would not have been so much in some of the organization. So you want to understand this simple message of proposition number 3. Operations and change. How good are we at change? Are we managing it? Or are we lagging behind when it comes to that? This is very important. This is from 1922. And who said this? 1922. Same problems. So the message of the 3 propositions which I have meant so far, what got you here is not going to get you there. Change becomes essential. The game has simply changed. If somebody tells you today he's very good at 5-day cricket as a fast bowler, what prospect does he have? When the world has gone towards T20, and you talk, oh, I'm damn good at 5-day cricket or even 50-50, it's not going to work. The money is in the 20 overs. How good are we at it? What have we got to do? And there the change you'll find, if you wait for it to happen from the bottom, It's not going to happen. It doesn't start from the top. Change are driven from the top. You can't wait. Somebody will tell you and I will do. No. How proactive are we going to be? So before we talk about family business growing, it's about owners. Are we growing? And that's where some humility helps. Very often I get to meet family business owners almost on a daily basis because of my profession. And one point that comes out consistent again and again is arrogance. लोटा लेके आया था मैं, देख कहाँ पहुंच गया, क्या किया मैंने? Not realizing the foundations are cracking, not realizing it. A little humility, a little future, rather than looking at the past, really helps. So long I dealt with the, the negative sides or less acceptable sides. Now let's look at something which is more positive. So long we looked at the challenges. Now you want to look at the way forward. Family business can grow. There's no question. No questions about it. Hundreds of examples across industries. Hundreds. They've grown. So what have we got to do? You want to ask this question of yourself. What's your growth plan for the next 3 years? In many cases, you'll find, नहीं सोच रहा हूँ, करना है, देख रहा हूँ. We don't have. About today's problem, हाँ ये माल जाना है आज, ये सेल टैक्स का माल निपटाना है. About very clear. About yesterday and about day before yesterday, we are very clear. What's our growth plan? Very difficult. You ask anybody, नहीं करना है, सोच रहा हूँ. अरे, you are a family business now. We have 2 partners. Both of you have 2 sons. You're going to become 4. The business has become double in the next 2 to 3 years' time. What are you going to do? Otherwise, you're going to have conflicts. सोचा ही नहीं. About tomorrow, we don't think. We are so worried about today and surviving today, there's no time for tomorrow. There's no time. So if you want to think about tomorrow, the first question you want to ask yourself is, how much do you want to grow? It's very possible you may decide, I don't want to grow. You just don't want to grow. I'm at a good size now, I don't want to grow. Or you may decide, and I can still be profitable. Those are very rare situations where it can happen. You'll find specialty restaurants, many of them, one store, nothing else. They're doing good job, no problems. But in business like yours, where scale is important, it becomes difficult. So how much do you want to grow? And if you ask that question, the next question that comes up is, how quick time? By when? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? What's your time frame? 2 simple questions to start the thinking. And here you'll find somebody who's in business for 25, 30 years, थक जाता है. अरे क्या करना है? So because of the person's problem, the business suffers. They lose ambition. बोलता क्या किया मैंने? अरे क्या है? I got 2 बंगला है. I got a summer house also. Farm house भी है मेरे पास. 4 गाड़ियां हैं. सब कुछ है. क्या करना है अभी? Ambition becomes finished. And then you have people like Mr. Mariwala saying, what is the next business I can do? Person Ratan Tata who has no succession plans, who has no children, going and buying over companies in the UK, taking huge loans at the age of 70. It's not about person, it's about the business, what's right for the business. And very often because of personal ambitions, business suffers, simply suffers. What type of growth you require? Mr. Mariwala talked about when they went to Bangladesh, he said, for next 3 to 4 years, go for volumes. We'll see about profit tomorrow. Which may not be possible for all businesses. Which may not be possible. And that's where you want to have an understanding of your business. If I increase my volume by 1%, What is the impact on profits? If I improve my margin, that is either my cost structure or price by 1%, what is the impact on profits? And sometimes you will find volumes are very important. In some cases, you will find it is the margin which is more important. Understanding which way to grow. It is not for all, oh, volume karna hai. Not necessary. There are good companies who have a turnover of 100 crores, make a profit of more than 30 crores after taxes. And there are companies who do 1,000 crores and don't make that sort of money. So the question is, are you going margin driven or you have to be volume driven? What's the key factor of success? Based on that, how do I take it forward? And then the big question, once you're clear in the direction, how are you going to make it happen? Mr. Mariwala talked about setting up a separate organization to take things forward. Are we going to do that? Because given our time, how much time can you give for something which is new, something to grow? You get so involved in day to day, there's no time. How are you going to manage it? How are you going to manage it? Tough questions. Tough questions. So the scene going forward, possible, can grow. But given the way we manage our businesses, the way we are, create structural barriers for the growth of the business. If they are not overcome, thinking simply of growth doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Right? We have about 5 minutes. We can take some questions.
Thank you very much, sir. That was very, very informative. Any questions? We have only time for 2. Yes, please. Please keep them relevant to the subject.
You were saying that family businesses generally do not prosper. I don't know, but I've seen that mostly family businesses in the Europe do prosper. There are a lot of family businesses which continue to flourish for more than 2 to 3 generations. Is there a difference they do there and not
Absolutely.
here?
I'm glad you asked this question. There was a study done in Germany about companies, family managed and small companies. And the measures taken were, those companies must be either leaders in Europe or across the world, number 1, number 2 in their product category. And they found out 500 companies, 500 plus, and they were called the hidden champions. 85% of them were family managed companies. There, as Mr. Mariwala just talked to you, ownership and management are kept separate. Management, you have very strong level of people who are managing it. But the direction in terms of how to go, what to do, there's a very strong family component. Who are technically very sound, who are very good on the market side, they drive it. There's something inside them karna hai. And you'll have family businesses which are 6 generations, 7 generations, and they're doing very well. But here, very soon you'll find, kya yaar, ikatha kya karna hai, alag ho jao. That sense of independence is so high, working together becomes a, where you'll find there are owners who are working somewhere else, who are shareholders, they may be having only 0.5%, 1%, 1% share in the company, almost like a private limited company where nobody else is dominant. And the person running it will be elected by the family. It is not, oh, baap ka sabse bada beta hai, baith jao. Not necessary. Merit.
Okay, last question, please.
Sir, can I? So you spoke about the Henry Ford statement that the older people should gradually move out, because it's very difficult for the older people to let go.
Not necessary. Not necessary.
I'm saying typically with Indian milieu, as you said, sab lota leke aaye, so that's a big problem. Generally, the senior people tend to grow roots, and they always feel that our policy is what has run the organization. How does the younger generation today, with all their background and everything, ensure that they're able to convince their seniors that okay, now's the time, and it's the new that's going to survive and not the old?
It won't happen. Let's understand. See, the concept of inducting the next generation into the business is not at a point of time. It is a process. In good families, you will find by the time the child is about 5 years old, they will teach the child the value of money. They will, in one family I know, they give the child 3 boxes. One is for spending, one is for sharing, and one is for savings. 3 boxes, 3 different colors. It is encouraged. The child is involved in paying the newspaper wala, is involved in paying the milkman. Bhai kitna 3000 rupees hua, you are given 3000, bill is for 2600, baki kitna hai? The child starts understanding money and value right in the early stages. Then by the time the child is 10, you want to get the child passionate about the business. That's where taking the office, going to suppliers, going for exhibitions, taking them on a foreign visit, they'll say, oh, kya business hai mera? I've seen a child, which is just about 9 or 10-year-old, was taken to a factory where there's a casting unit and where the molten metal is poured. You can see the child's mouth, wow, my God, what they do. Passion. So values and passion. Once you do that, by the time the child reaches teenage, then the education has to match what the business requires. So you're in the printing business and you send the child for a computer education or some BBA, it doesn't make sense. You are building up problems. Building up problems. And by the time the child is 18 to 20, getting into business on a regular basis, kya hota hai? So that by 22, they are damn good. So it's not only what the child can do, it has to be the adult. What role he plays in inducting the child over a period of time. Because today what happens? Exactly the opposite. Tuition master, friend circle, TV, mobile. They have more time than what the parents have. The child doesn't have anything. And when the child comes home, what is the sense? Yeah, sale tax ka problem ho gaya tha aaj, income tax ka problem ho gaya, plan ka payment nahi aaya. We discuss only problems. And then you expect them to be very passionate about joining the business. How can? How do you expect? How do you expect? How do you expect?
Thank you, sir. We're completely out of time. I'd request you to remain on stage, and to honor the good professor, I'm going to ask Dev Nair and Shamal Da, who's the president of the AIFMP, to please come up on stage and honor Professor Saab for his great contribution to Print Summit this year and in the past years. Big round of applause for the professor. Big round of applause, please. Thank you, Professor Saab. Thank you very much.